Your general duty of care as a real estate manager, you must always ensure that you carry out all services with reasonable care and skill. What is reasonable? So it is measured by the standards of a reasonably competent and experienced member of the real estate management profession. The duty of care and skill applies to every aspect of your service. So I would like to take an inspiration to our nurses in terms of care and skills. So they are very um, caring to their patients while applying the very delicate skills to care to their client. So for us in the real estate industry, your duty of care exists throughout the period of your instruction. So this includes exercising a reasonable care and skill in advising on the financial implication of any negotiation. You must always look after for their welfare. Next is corporate social responsibility or the CSR. So it refers in essence to an understanding of the total impact of your work. So your responsibility, so and also the resources that you manage. So these are the example of the on what are the impact of your role as a real estate manager. It entails adopting an overall attitude of responsibility, taking into account the nature of your relationship with your employees, with the customers, to our suppliers, and the wider local community. So, as a real estate manager, this is very important for you to consider. It involves going beyond the minimum legal and professional requirements and following a certain principles to ensure you minimize any potential negative impact of your work. Next is dealing with conflicts of interest. A conflict of interest is anything that impedes your ability to focus on the best interest of your client. So, common sources of conflict of interest are financial, our professional, personal, and prejudicial. So these are some of the most common sources of conflict of interest. Something that you look after and be very vigilant. Be careful in terms of these the elements. This is a matter of your judgment. It is not your client. So you must make every attempt to avoid such conflict. So this professional statement require that you mitigate a conflict of interest and deal with them openly and fairly and immediately as they arise. You must disclose any conflict of interest promptly and in writing account of any duty of confidentiality. With informed consent from your client, it may be possible for you to continue to act for them. But if consent is not forthcoming, or you are unable to disclose your interests due to confidentiality, you should cease your activities for all clients involved. In all cases of a conflict of interest, you should consult your client, take their instructions, and keep a full note of the discussion and instruction in the file. Next is understanding discrimination. You must not discriminate against any part or any party relating to management of real estate. So I would like to give you an example paintbrush. So a paintbrush doesn't care what color you are. So as a real estate manager, you should function as a paintbrush. You don't, as a paintbrush, you don't care if it is black or white or yellow, but your work is to paint that color, whatever the color that is being given to you. You must have to do your job um, without any without any discrimination on the basis of gender, whatever the age or race, creed, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or national origin, or favor um, any party because they are likely to instruct you on other matters, or use a services offered by you or your related parties. You must ensure that you do not discriminate unfairly against any party in terms you are prepared to agree on a management issue or in your treatment of person in need of real estate for occupation or investment purposes. Next is vulnerable customers. Vulnerability can include anything that may have an impact on a person's ability to make a sound and reasoned decision. You must ensure that you do not discriminate against vulnerable customers or clients, either explicitly or implicitly by your actions. Assessing the potential vulnerability of a customer can be very sensitive matter and may require you to make a judgment. Staff should understand their obligation in this area. So if you are a manager, a real estate manager, you should have in place appropriate procedures and relevant training to deal with this matter. If a customer makes a decision that may have a legal connotations, you should explain that they should discuss this with their legal advisors. You might also consider speaking to the customer's legal advisors if you are concerned about any decisions that are being taken. If, in your opinion, a customer may be vulnerable, you should take this into account in any information or guidance you give to them. So, particularly if in any decision they make is based solely on that information or advice that you've given. And lastly, the responsibility for others. You may be held legally responsible for the actions of any staff you employ. Best practice recommends that you should, number one, train. You should have to train your staff initially and in a continuous basis, and also keeping the records of all the trainings and its recipient. So training will help you develop their skills and also to attain that level of expertise. Maintain awareness of legislation and relevant codes of practice. So this is very important. And also supervise staff adequately. You must have to check them if they are following through what they have been trained, or are they following the laws and the codes that are being given to them. And be aware of who your related parties and satisfy yourself that they are aware of any legal and ethical requirements. So, and can be relied upon to comply with them. Ensure that there is documentary evidence showing that all staff have been given a proper instructions and training about compliance with a relevant laws and these standards. for our references, you may check and to get some information. So for our next topic, we are going to discuss our Module 2, which is the securing instructions. Thank you very much and keep safe, everyone.